Hello and welcome everybody to this video. And now we want to talk about hybrid semi-parametric modeling. Our system, again, as an example, is this tank where we feed in a constant water flow, which is measured, and we want to predict the level after a certain time. But some part of the water is like evaporated by the sun and taken away. And now we want to approach this with hybrid semi-parametric model, and this actually means that we take into account first principles or also mechanistic modeling and also data-driven modeling. So, and now the question is, how can we leverage the best from both worlds? So, how can we use the best? And basically, what we do is we start with a first principle modeling part or knowledge-based part. So start with available knowledge. And what we could easily think of is an example, the mass balance. Which could be written as the change of the mass within the tank. So this is what goes in. So with this flow minus what evaporates and that out. So, and now we actually want to predict the level and not the mass in the tank. Therefore, we need the mass holdup, which equates to the density times the volume, and this again is density times cross-sectional area times level. And then we can also consider the mass flows, or the mass flow, which goes into the system. M dot in equates to my flow V dot in times the density. Now, this is the part I might be capable of providing via a first principles model or mechanistic modeling. And now I have to think about this evaporation thing. And here the challenge is that this can become quite fastly quite complicated. In this example, it would be still possible. You have to think about the vapor pressure of water in this case, and the partial pressure in the air, and then you could estimate and transfer rate or assume equality between the liquid phase and the environment, and in that way calculate this volume flow. But another approach could be that you say, okay, I just measure that and introduce this as a data-driven model sub part in my overall model. So what we do in the second step is add a data-driven submodel. And this we do for parts we don't understand it well, or where it is complicated to describe them. And we could say maybe my m dot out equates actually my data-driven model part, which we could call F1 from, and this might depend on the temperature here, but also maybe some other things. Another approach could be that we say, okay, we introduce some more knowledge about this. So maybe we say, okay, we have a cross-sectional area which influences this m dot out, and maybe we also consider the density to be an influence and put it as a factor before that term, and then multiply this with another data-driven model which describes this function here. And now we could combine and just say, okay, we have this differential equation, we put into the mass balance this whole up, so it's rho times A times L divided by delta T, and then what goes in and what goes out times my F2 from T double dot. And now, since I know, or might assume, that these two quantities, the density and the cross-sectional area, are constant, I could reshape this equation and say, okay, we have the differential of the level to the time equates my volume flow which goes in divided by A minus, and then these go out and I only have this F2 from T and the dots. And then if we want to denote that, so why is it called hybrid semi-parametric? We have one model part, which is the parametric part, or sometimes we say also white box. And this actually means in this area we have a fixed number of parameters, and these parameters have a meaning which we know. On the other side, we have the non-parametric model, which could be an artificial neural network or a support vector machine or something. So any data-driven model, and this would sometimes also be called a black box model. And non-parametric actually means that the number of parameters you use in the model and also the meaning of the parameters is not fixed beforehand. So you might change the number of nodes you use in your artificial neural network, and therefore the number of parameters you use changes to describe this function which describes this evaporation effect. That's it for this video. Thanks for watching, and I see you in the next one.